Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another PS5 jailbreak news update. So it's been quiet for the past few days. We had a few days of major hype and then silence, and I've been getting a lot of people asking me what the hell's going on. So luckily we've just finally got the silence broken, and we have some additional information that has now come out from Spectre. So we're going to go ahead and cover that here in this video, just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, since there has been a relative drought of information over the past few days. So just a few hours ago on X, Spectre posted a screenshot showing the new jailbreak running on the PS5, and he is loading it through the web browser, which means he's chaining it with a WebKit exploit. So a WebKit exploit plus the new umtx kernel exploit, and he has got it running right here. You can see the Hello World notification and the elf loader running, and it also says it's enabled the debug menu and all of that good stuff. So he has got it working. Now it is for firmware 2.0, not for the latest firmware that's vulnerable to the exploit, which is 7.61. That's the firmware that we're all hoping we will get a implementation for. Now 7.61 does have issues right now because we don't have a WebKit exploit that is public to allow us to load it through the web browser like he is doing here on 2.0. So that means we have to either wait for a Blu-ray drive implementation, which could come any day now. Any day now we could potentially get a Blu-ray drive implementation of this that could work up to 7.61. But for a WebKit implementation where we can load it from the browser like this, we will have to wait for a new WebKit exploit to be made public so it can be chained with it and it can work up to 7.61 through the web browser. So Spectre did give us a little bit more information in the R&D Discord. So he says that 2.0 kernel exploit is done, which is the screenshot that he was showing on X. And he also says he wants to get 2.50 going and some other stuff, then he'll probably publish it. So we could get this exploit dropped any time now, pretty soon, potentially. Whether or not it's hours or days, we'll have to wait and see. But we could get this pretty much any time now, but it will only be most likely for 2.x firmwares, or maybe 1.x firmwares, but most likely 2.x firmwares initially that will be dropped. So you might be thinking, why bother with such an old firmware like 2.x? Well, we know that there is a hypervisor exploit that Flats has that works on 2.x firmwares. So perhaps once this releases, Flats might be more willing to release his hypervisor exploit, and then we could get a full jailbreak on the PS5 on 2.x firmwares. Because right now we don't have a full jailbreak, even on 3.x and 4.x, those are not full jailbreaks, they're technically partial jailbreaks. And then we have the libhijacker, which allows us to run homebrew and stuff, which we otherwise wouldn't be able to do. So it's kind of like a hypervisor workaround. That's how it's described. It's not a proper hypervisor exploit, but on 2.x, we could actually get a proper hypervisor exploit, allowing for a full jailbreak on the PS5 on 2.x. That would allow doing things like running Linux on the PS5, which we're currently not able to do with the partial jailbreaks we have right now. So that would be pretty significant, but again, I know it's not really going to apply to a lot of the people watching this because there's really not going to be that many people on 2.x. I'm sure I'll get comments from people saying I'm on 1.x or I'm on 2.x. You're going to be in the minority. Most of the people are updated far past 2.0. So obviously what most people are more interested in is going to be the higher firmwares. So Spectre did reveal a bit more information on that as well. So he says 3.x to 5.x will probably be later. 6.x to 7.x isn't happening unless or until another WebKit implementation is released that gets read-write. We'll probably have to rely on someone's BDJ implementation for those firmwares. So yeah, 3.x to 5.x has the PS3 WebKit exploit that he can chain with this kernel exploit to create the jailbreak essentially. So that's why he can support 5.x firmwares, but he's saying not 6.x and 7.x. He only means the WebKit implementation is not going to be released on 6.x and 7.x until we get a new WebKit exploit. Supposedly there might be a couple in private, or one of them in private, that might get made public at some point soon, in which case we will get a WebKit implementation on those firmwares. Otherwise, we will have to rely on the BDJ implementation, meaning the Blu-ray disc version, to load the jailbreak. So again, it will most likely be the Blu-ray version that will come out first for those higher firmwares like 7.61. And sometime later, once we get a WebKit exploit for those higher firmwares, we'll then be able to get a similar version that can be loaded through the web browser on 7.61. So that's the situation right now. Just to recap, 2.0 has been done by Spectre. And he's also going to work on 2.50. Once he has that ported, he'll potentially publish it. So it will be released, and then hopefully maybe Flats might be more willing to release his hypervisor exploit for 2.x so that we can actually get a full jailbreak on the PS5 and do stuff like loading Linux. And then, of course, Spectre's also going to then work on porting the WebKit exploit, probably the PS3 WebKit exploit, over to 3.x to 5.x firmwares with this new jailbreak, so that if you're on, say, 5.0 or 5.50, you'll be able to take advantage of this and jailbreak the PS5 with the web browser. And then, of course, we'll have to wait for 6.x and 7.x firmwares until a new WebKit exploit comes out that can be chained with this, so that he can then port it to those firmwares. But in the meantime, a Blu-ray drive implementation is likely to come out any day now, which will then allow us to load the exploit from a Blu-ray disc on those higher firmwares that do not support a web browser-based exploit, which will allow us to jailbreak up to 7.61. And again, just to clarify, when I say jailbreak, I'm talking about the kind of jailbreaks we have on 3.x and 4.x. And when I say full jailbreak, I'm talking about a hypervisor exploit potentially that would also allow us to run Linux and stuff, but that would only be for 2.x firmwares most likely, unless Flats has been holding out on us and actually has a hypervisor exploit on higher firmwares as well. But I don't want to speculate too much into that. Now, also, a few hours ago, there was another $10,000 bounty that was reported on PlayStation's HackerOne bug bounty program by SlidyBat. So because this isn't from the flow, I wouldn't really get your hopes up on this resulting in some kind of new jailbreak in the future, because most of the other people that tend to do these reports never request disclosure, or at least that's how it seems from the outside looking in, because none of these reports seem to get disclosed. It seems to only be the flow that consistently requests disclosure on his reports, which results in new jailbreaks being released several months later. So yeah, hopefully this will get disclosed, but I wouldn't necessarily get my hopes up on it because it's not the flow that was the one that reported it. We have had reports from CTURT and from many others in the scene that have, you know, multiple $10,000 reports or higher, and those reports have still never been made public years and years later. So maybe it will get disclosed, but I wouldn't necessarily get my hopes up on this at the moment. We also got the release of a new firmware update for the PS5, bringing the version up to 10.01. Looks like this was just a little hotfix update after the 10.0 update. Normally after they do a pretty big update, there's normally a little hotfix where they have to tweak a few things, fix a few things that they weren't able to catch before release. So yeah, that's probably what this was. It just says they've improved system software performance and stability. Normally when they patch an exploit, they say that they've made security fixes to the system software. That is not mentioned here, so it doesn't look like this update has patched any vulnerabilities. And before we end the video, a couple of updates on etaHEN. Lightning Mods has been posting a few videos showing some of the updates that he's making currently to etaHEN. A lot of it to do with the plugins, because I guess some people were getting a bit confused about how the plugins menu worked, because it seems that you could disable plugins, but when you tried to re-enable them, they wouldn't enable because they have to be launched on startup, but then they can be killed once they're already started. So he's kind of overhauling the plugins menu system to make that a little bit more clear. I think he's also working on a plugin auto start feature. So that is being worked on at the moment from Lightning Mods. Another thing that Lightning Mods posted, which I would love to see implemented here. So he says, like this tweet if you want to see a MMOS-like desktop interface for managing files, etc. using the PS5's native graphics API, AGC, early video demo included. So he shows the demo of it here. So this is very much like Multiman on the PS3 that has that MMOS kind of desktop that you can access for managing files. So it kind of looks like you're accessing the files on a PC, and you can bring up multiple windows to make copying files back and forth more convenient. So I would love to see this implemented on the PS5, especially just having it as another file manager option inside items flow would be great. And yeah, making items flow more functional and reminiscent of something like Multiman on the PS3. So we'd definitely love to see this get implemented. If you also agree, go ahead and follow Lightning Mods on Twitter and like this post so that he knows that it's definitely something he should invest some time into. But by the looks of this demo, it appears he already has. So CYB1K has also released an auto backporting tool. This is because we have the new 11.0 jailbreak for the PS4 now. It means a lot of fake packages, a lot of games are being dumped on 11.0, especially games that are newer games that maybe will not be able to run on older firmwares like 9.00. and therefore, you know, there's a bunch of fake packages being built that don't work on older firmwares. So what this software is designed to do is to essentially automatically backport those fake package games to work on the older firmware. So it does the whole backporting process for you. This is also handy for people on PS5s who are maybe on, say, 4.03. There might be some PS4 game dumps that are not running on your PS5, and it's probably because they're not backported. So you can try using the software where you just select the game and it will automatically backport it for you. And then it should rebuild the package file that you can then install and run on your older firmware, PS5 or PS4, so that you can get that game running. So that has now been added. As far as I'm aware, this is not a backporting tool that's going to allow you to backport games that we don't have decryption keys for, because I'm pretty sure CYB1K is keeping those to himself. So anyway, that's basically it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And once again, I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video.